So there'll be some intro music right here, and for however long that takes. All right, welcome to the GRODCAST. This time we are featuring the guest juleZ, or is it juleZ?
I feel like juleZ. juleZ is good.
juleZ, okay. All right, why don't we just rip the Band-Aid off and start with question one.
All right.
So juleZ, what is important?
What is important in life?
Just open-ended.
Open-ended. Okay. It's a very broad question. I watched your other episodes to prepare, but I didn't think of my own response for this question. But what's important? I think a lot of things are important. I think it's important to laugh. Like, no one should take anything too seriously. I feel like in a lot of parts of life, there are obviously things that are very serious and aren't a laughing matter, but I feel like in general, if people like lightened up a bit and laughed more, that's important, I think. It's important to be nice to people. Try to have an open mind about things, like that goes for like work and friends and family and everything. I guess those things are important. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think is important?
Oh, that's for a later episode.
Okay.
I'm going to go through and answer all these.
Okay.
But anyhow, so what makes French onion soup so French?
Oh, that is a great question. Thank you for asking. I didn't know you would ask this. Okay, so funnily enough, in college, I took a class on like French cuisine kind of and how it relates to French culture. And for one of my assignments, I wrote a short paper about French onion soup. And I don't remember all of the details, but it's like a long history in French culture just because it was like a pretty simple dish to make. Like they had a lot of onions going on, especially like more in the countryside. And it was kind of just like an easier dish to make. And they could use like old bread that was no longer fresh and it would still be good in the soup. So at its core, it's pretty French. In France, they just call it onion soup, which I thought was kind of comical the first time I heard it because we always hear of it as French onion soup. But I don't know what makes it so French, but I know that it is delicious. And when it's on a menu, I'm likely going to order it. And I've made it a few times. I don't know if you've ever had it when I've made it. Have you had it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I feel like it's hard to make, though.
It's a bit time consuming with chopping up all the onions, and my eyes are really sensitive, so it's just like, if you need a good cry as well, like, you should definitely make French onion soup. It's kind of nice. It's very cathartic. But I wonder if French people have stronger eyes or an extra layer or something, because I've made it in France among the French, and they were not crying in the way that I was, so there's something to think about there. Someone should look into that.
Yeah, maybe it's evolution on a micro scale.
I don't know. Could be.
So, can you tell me what one of your favorite movies is and why?
Yes. My favorite movie list is nothing in compared to yours. Yours is much more well developed, but I've got like a top 10 or so. One, do I have to pick just one?
If you have the 10 ready, you can run through them.
I do have my list. Let me pull it up for you.
This is the first time anyone's had more than one movie.
Oh, really? I can't narrow it down to just one. Let's see. I'm just searching in my phone. Okay. My top movies are 27 Dresses, Little Women, the like Greta Gerwig one, Interstellar, I feel like it's a lot of people's up there, Ratatouille, Hidden Figures, The Blind Side, Pitch Perfect, Crazy Rich Asians, and Sully, about like the Miracle on the Hudson landing. Those are my top ones. And they're all really good in their own ways. And I would add Frozen to that list as well. I like a movie that does have a feel-good element because it's like, escapism a bit. You want to just watch something to be entertained. But there's some that cover really serious topics too. So I like when I can learn a bit in movies too. Maybe not the case in a movie like Frozen or Ratatouille, but in some of the other ones, like, I feel like you can learn a little bit about the time period that they're going for in the movie. But mostly I like a little bit of a feel-good moment in movies. That's something that's important to me, I would say.
So, not really the horror type thing.
Not as much into the horror, and I know that's more your shtick. Into the horror and, like, gory, like, war movies are not really for me. I don't know how much I can get behind some action movies. I get, like, too nervous with all the suspense sometimes. But I guess there's little bits of action sprinkled into other movies. If you remember, we were playing
action in Frozen, right?
Yeah, that's true. If you remember, we were playing that game with, you have to describe things in categories, and I had to think of things in action movie categories, and I couldn't think of anything because I like movies like Frozen and Ratatouille in addition to some others like rom-coms and stuff. But I guess there's a little bit of action in some of those.
Yeah, well, we had 2 overlaps. Interstellar is on my list as well.
Okay.
And so is Pitch Perfect. But I have Pitch Perfect 2 above Pitch Perfect. So.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from with that. Pitch Perfect is just great. I can watch it time and time again, and it just hits every time. I want to sing along to the riff off. I don't really need Pitch Perfect 3 as much in my life.
No,
unfortunately.
It wasn't that good.
Yeah, I like Haley Steinfeld, but I don't think she needed to be there for that. But the other, Pitch Perfect, the original, timeless.
Interesting. Do you feel like it is not that great a movie if you're not already into music? Because I don't know. I mean, I can't separate it out.
You can't put the blinders up.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it kind of revolutionized, like, singing and, like, a cappella. Remember at that time, it, like, really blew up. Like, suddenly everyone... Well, I don't know what it was like before, but, like, I feel like college a cappella groups and high school a cappella groups, like, it was just, like, suddenly a really cool thing that people were tuning into. I feel like maybe the Pentatonics, like, blew up around the same time. I feel like Pitch Perfect really, like, got people into a cappella. And it's still, like, I love a cappella. It's still nerdy, but I think it made it kind of have its cool moment, too, which is cool. I don't know. I think people can appreciate it because it also had, like, an appreciation for, like, movies and stuff. Like, I feel like I had never seen The Breakfast Club before, and then since they were talking about it in Pitch Perfect, I was like, oh, I need to watch this. So I feel like people could get into it even if they're not explicitly, like, die-hard a cappella people.
Yeah, I think I watched The Breakfast Club first, but
So you were, like, cool. I feel like you were hip to, like, a classic movie. But
no, I feel
that
like
on your
something else. I have it on my list of need to rewatch, and once I rewatch it, I'll place it. But
got it.
Yeah, I didn't really like that guy though.
Which one?
The movie guy.
In Pitch Perfect?
Yeah.
Oh, what's the character's name? Jesse?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I heard of him recently. He's married to one of the people that was in, like, him in real life is married to one of the other actors in the film.
He was in a TV show that was also a singing TV show called Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
Okay. I don't know it.
I didn't like him in that either. So
he kind of looks like the guy that plays Joe in You. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. The Gossip Girl guy.
Paige Badgley or something. Penn Badgley.
Penn Badgley.
Yeah, they kind of have similar vibes.
Are you all caught up on You?
They're filming in the Upper East Side. They saw him poking around, which it just feels really full circle because that's where they filmed Gossip Girl, I think, and I feel like that's where he got his big break. But I think it's the last season, so I'm caught up to now, but that's a crazy show.
I've enjoyed it, yeah.
It's intense. That's pretty violent.
Yeah, not so feel good.
Yeah.
So, Just to move on, I feel like I could talk about movies and TV shows forever. But we got to get to the hard-hitting questions. So, Jules, do we have free will?
Ooh, that is tough. Okay. Yes and no. I think overall we all kind of maintain some sort of decorum and some sort of, like, international norms, and then, like, get into, like, our smaller norms, and, like, at the office we do certain norms, and, like, at family functions and things like that. But then as I became an adult, sometimes I, like, have this realization. All of a sudden I'm like, oh, I could just do anything I want right now. Like, if I wanted to just get on a flight somewhere, I could just go and no one can stop me. The only thing holding me back would be, like, money or something like that. Or I recently got, like, another ear piercing. I, like, realized I can just go do that. Like, no one can stop me except for money again. So I guess we have free will, except we have to work against the fact that things cost money, or that, like, you have to kind of go to work because you need to make money. So besides money, we have free
laws.
Will. And laws. That's a good point as well. You can't just be going around doing anything you want. So
there's a
lot
of legal things, but maybe it's like 90% free.
Yeah, like, you can choose. There's a lot of like, our whole lives are made up of choices. So there's a lot of things you can choose to do, but you're limited. You can't choose anything. Yeah. So I'm a yes and no on that.
Going from that, do you think we should be telling kids, like, in their youth, that they can be anything they want?
I think it's worthwhile for kids to have their minds open and, like, be able to dream about anything that they want. I think they're just like adults. They're learning rules every day too, and, like, they're learning norms and what they can and can't do, and you get more free will as you grow up. So even though your reality is kind of shrinking, like, the world isn't really your oyster, you do get more choices as you get older. You're forced to make more choices as you get older, so your free will kind of expands in that way. But I guess the dreamer sense of, like, you could do anything, you could be an astronaut, or you could be the president, kind of shrinks. I mean, one of the 7-year-olds today is going to be a president, and one's going to be an astronaut, but, like, most aren't. So, but I don't think that we should, and that's okay. I think we should still encourage them to dream, because most people don't know exactly what they want to be when they grow up. As long as they're, like open-minded and excited, and they're learning how to interact with people, I feel like that's good. And if they're just, like, limited in a little box, they're not going to do that. So I think it's good to, like, encourage kids to shoot for the stars, kind of, but we'll see where they land, I guess. That's an interesting question. That's a good question.
Yeah, it's one that I oscillate on quite a bit. Would you like to take a minute to say a bit about what you do for employment?
Sure. I do educational policy research, so work in the K-12 sphere, doing evaluations of different K-12 programming, trying to see what's working and what's not, and for which types of students in our public school system. Systems, I should say.
And you've gotten to travel quite a bit for this job. What is the best place that you've gotten to go for work?
Ooh. I'm not going to say there's a best place, because they've all been great trips. And, like, nice opportunities to go see new things and see new places. I've gotten to go... Well, I guess the obvious one and most recent one I went was New Mexico. That was, like, very cool. A few friends, when I was telling them about that, they thought I said Mexico, which was not the case. New Mexico, the state. It was just really nice to see something that's so different from what I'm used to, like, growing up in upstate New York and living in a big city. It was just, like, really rural. So it just reminds me that there's so much variety across the country, and that really makes me excited to travel more. I want to try to go to all 50 states. I think I'm at, like, 26 right now. So I'm over halfway there. So it just reminded me that I do want to try to see more since there's such variety. It was just really cool to see, like, people that we've been working with remotely to actually, like, see in real life what they're doing and where they live and what, like, challenges come with where they're from and everything like that.
How tall they actually are.
How tall they are. That's always something funny when you go off Zoom, when you actually meet people. It's always shocking. And you never know. And I think people make a lot more sense when you see them in person. I don't know if you feel that way too. You're like, oh, okay, everything makes sense when you actually, like, see them. You can, like, kind of feel their energy or something. I don't know, but, like, makes more sense when you see them in real life.
Yeah, I don't know how much of it is, like, auditory and how much of it is visual.
Yeah.
But something about it, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So, why do you do what you do?
For work? Why do we do what we do? Well, I think it depends on what I'm doing, what you're talking about exactly. Going back to the free will thing, I feel like we're just chilling here on this earth trying to figure out why we're here. So I like to just choose to try to enjoy what I'm doing and interact with people, meet new people, try new things. We never know how long you're going to be, like, around and what you're going to be able to experience. So I try to just squeeze a lot of experiences out of every, like, situation I find myself in. That could go for, I guess, work or also, like, personal life. Yeah. I think I do what I do just because I'm trying to figure it out and make the most of the life that we've been given, I guess. That's kind of a cheesy answer, but it's a tough question to crack at.
I think it's okay to be cheesy. I think we should normalize cheese.
I love cheese. I'm so sorry to anyone that's lactose intolerant because cheese is awesome.
We can suffer through it.
There's some cheeses that are dairy-free, correct?
I don't know. I know often vegan people use nutritional yeast as their
that's pretty
cheese
good.
flavoring. Yeah.
True.
So, overrated, underrated months.
Months as a concept or a certain month?
Like which month is overrated, which month is underrated. Yeah.
Oh, okay. January is underrated. I love January. It sets us up. Everyone always says, like, January is, like, 40 months long. Like, they're like, I look at my clock, somehow it's still January. But I like it. It's when my birthday is, so that's fun for me. But also, it's like a fresh start to the year. I feel like everyone's still excited about, like, reflecting on the past year and getting their goals set up and things like that. So I think January deserves more hype. An underrated month. Oh wait, that is underrated. I'm trying to think of an overrated month now. Maybe July's overrated. It's a little bit too hot, I feel like. Yeah. And I wish that everyone didn't have to work during July. I think we were trained to have that time off growing up, and I really miss that. And other countries kind of do take that month off, and I think that'd be good for all of us. And some people, like, if you're in grad school like you or teacher or something like that, you still get that time off, and I think that would be really important. So I think it's overrated. It would probably not be overrated if I didn't have to work. Like, if I could just, like, go chill at a lake or a beach or something, go eat some popsicles during the day. But since the lack of free will there, have to go to work, I think July could do better. What about you? Or you're not answering?
I can probably answer. I would say overrated is December. I think it's always a weird thing ending a year as opposed to starting a year.
Yeah.
But I am not a huge fan of the ending part of things. But underrated, I want to say April.
Ooh, that's tomorrow.
Yeah. Or if you're viewing this live, or when this drops
In the future.
it's in the present of the future.
If it's not April now, it's coming someday.
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, and then it'll go, and then it'll come back, and then it'll go, but it'll come back. So
It is nice. Everything starts to bloom and everything. Getting prepped up for summer.
yeah. The rain gets a little lighter, you know, a little warmer.
Yeah. It's a good month.
So, Jules, can you tell me who one of your favorite historical figures is?
Yes. Let me think. What, era of history?
Could be now, it could be in the past, it could be in the future.
In the future. I don't know. I was just thinking about a presentation that I went to in college. I don't think I have a favorite historical figure. Oh, but this person's still alive. So let me retrack. I was gonna say
so far everyone's favorites have all been dead, so
okay, I want to stay on trend.
Yeah.
That's hard. I don't know why that's tripping me up, because there's so many options. Obviously, like, people have
way
passed
more
away.
than of people who are alive, so
Yeah, that's true. Let me think. I don't know. Sorry, I'm having a brain. I'm trying to think of someone that, like, I feel like is kind of inspiring, but, like,
if you want, we can circle back.
made a significant sort of impact, but also someone who's just, like, I would like to, like, have a meal with. Like, you know, that classic, like, icebreaker question where it's like, if you could have a meal with 3 historical figures or whatever, who would it be? I always have a hard time with that one. But I don't know why I kind of want to say Julia Child? Is she count as a historical figure?
She counts. Yeah.
Because now I was thinking about, like, French onion soup from the earlier question. I was thinking about, like, cooking, and, like, she, like, made a name for herself as a woman in the industry of, like, cooking and, like, creating it into her own TV show. She, like, kind of, like, started her own little industry in that way, and also she, like, had that connect with, like, France and, like, the US a bit too, which is something that is interesting to me since I have studied France and things like that. So I think that linkage is interesting, especially because cuisine and culinary arts is so special and important to, like, some of American culture, but also a lot to French culture too. So she'd be someone that would be really interesting to have a meal with. I don't know how much, like, major socio-political impact she's had, but I think she's a hoot, and it would be fun conversation to have. What was your exact question? I don't know if she would answer your exact question, but she'd be someone that...
Who is one of your favorite historical figures?
Okay, she could be a favorite historical figure. Maybe not someone that made, like, the most dramatic
it's not, like,
impact
the most
on the world.
person. Yeah.
Okay. Not to discredit her either, but yeah, I think she'd be up there. I'd really love to chat with her, and I think she's an interesting figure, and she's funny.
She was very tall, right?
Yeah. And that was something too. She was kind of breaking norms because her husband was, like, shorter than her, I believe. So she was, like, breaking some norms in that way. She was critiqued for a lot of what she did, I think. Just, like, being on TV and being out there and being, like, making mistakes in the kitchen and things as a woman, when women are supposed to be, like, so perfect and be perfect in the kitchen and things like that. So, yeah, should be fun to chat with.
It's always tough being a first mover, though.
Yeah, I'm sure she had some critics.
Well, all right. Still on the line of, things we like, right? What is the greatest video game of all time?
Ooh, that is a good question. Okay, let me think. I have a few answers to this, if I may. I know I'm just breaking all the rules here, not answering your questions directly. But I think, obviously, classic upon classic, Super Smash Bros. I'm not that great at it. We grew up playing it on the GameCube. It's a classic. I am Kirby. I'm going to be inhaling the opponents and taking their special skills. And also, when you get, like, kicked off a bit, Kirby does have the ability to fly back on. So he's obviously the best character to play as. And we grew up on that. So that's got to be top tier for sure. But I would also like to say the Hannah Montana DS game, Nintendo DS game. That was really fun. I loved that. Also, Nintendogs. It didn't really have a game element to it as much as just kind of like you had your dogs. I guess the game was just to keep them alive, I guess.
Oh, well, they can live for years and years without any food or water, but they'll be really unhappy.
Yeah, that was put to the test.
Cruel. Yeah.
That was put to the test when I discovered my DS in COVID lockdown. I found my DS and charged it up, put in the 10 dogs. All 3 of my dogs were described as filthy, starving, and parched. And I felt really so terrible. But that was a good game. I also liked that game that we had that was like Donkey Kong on the drums.
Donkey Konga, or
Donkey Konga, something like that. That was a fun
Beat.
one. Yeah. That was fun. And, of course, classic, like, Guitar Hero. That was, like, hours upon hours upon hours. Because also I feel like that introduced us and, like, a lot of people our age to a whole genre or a whole era of music that we otherwise might not have gotten to know so well. So, actually, that was pretty cool for Guitar Hero. And I don't know what Rock Band was like. We were a Guitar Hero household, but maybe Rock Band did a similar thing. But yeah, all that to say, I think those are my top tiers.
All solid picks. I didn't see the Hannah Montana DS game coming.
That was a fun one. Really good.
So, what is not important?
What is not important? So many things. I feel like a lot of times I'm in a conversation or I see someone getting upset about something. I'm like, it's really not something that's worth like getting upset over sometimes. I'm trying to think of a more concrete example. I don't know. So sometimes at work or something, if you're trying to like meet a deadline, I think there are some jobs, like if you're a brain surgeon or something, or something that's really pressing, like I get like being stressed towards a timeline or a deadline, but I think sometimes we like create false pressure on ourselves, especially I'm talking mostly at work, I would say, but probably it can be applicable to other things, but I feel like put a lot of false pressure on ourselves when it's just like an artificial time deadline, and or maybe you want to do something so perfect, but maybe you can just like do something a first try and then try again. Like I think sometimes things need to be taken a little less seriously. Like it's important to try hard at work or in anything else, but sometimes I think we don't need to take things quite so seriously or rush through things quite so much. So I think sometimes, I guess, deadlines aren't as important as they're chopped up to be. I try to obviously do my work on time, but I think it's nice to remind yourselves sometimes that probably nothing bad will happen if you don't get everything done by a certain deadline.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer.
Thank you.
I feel like in some ways deadlines are nice in terms of providing some structure, but in other ways it's just made up, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like with what I do, like the science, like some of it is just how it is, you know, but a lot of office stuff, like you were saying, people getting worked up over small things, it's not important.
Yeah, everyone could just take like one deep breath and probably things will get solved easier if the tensions are less high as well. So some things need to just get brought down a notch sometimes.
Yeah, and I think like if you in if you like the people you work with, then it's easy to go to work, but that's not always the case. And
Yeah, it's so true.
sometimes you gotta like learn to live with a little tension. But
There's always dynamics to suss out.
yeah, and if there weren't, it'd be pretty boring. So,
Yeah, true.
all right. Well, moving on. What is something you think should be taught in schools everywhere that isn't always taught?
So many things. Geez. The list could go on and on. That's a great question. I think more and more schools are starting to tie in a bit of like financial literacy for students, and I think that would be huge. Starting to see that more in college, but I think at the high school level that would be great to like make mandatory. Especially not all kids have parents that have like had a lot of experience or lessons in financial literacy, so it's like hard to just like pick it up out of nowhere. So that would be really great. I think it's great when kids do have some sort of like, I guess that's already taught in schools. I was going to say like physical activity is like so important. I feel like that is really good for kids, especially like different learning styles. Some kids really can't just be sitting around all day and expected to really take in all the information that they're getting spewed out at them. So maybe if the days was just structured a little differently than a traditional school day, so kids could be like up and moving a little bit more. Yeah, that, financial literacy. I think more like current events too, so that things can't get swayed. Like if kids could just like be exposed to like what's just going on instead of only like sticking to like the certain standards and exams that they have to prep for. If they could also have like a 5 or 10 minute block at the beginning of the day, just like tune them into what's going on in the world, that would be, in an ideal world, that would be pretty cool, so that they just have a good sense of what's going on around them. Besides, because I feel like at least where growing up where we were, sometimes there's a bit of a bubble based on like where you are in the world and in the country, so that could be cool too. But there's so many things. I like that more and more schools are doing like social emotional learning too, so kids are getting lessons about like character and like how to develop as a person, in addition to just like learning how to read and how to do addition. So that's cool. I'm glad things are pushing that way a little bit. Hope that continues. Sorry, that was a bit long-winded.
No, it's okay. Lots of good answers. I think for me, I would want there to be like better mental health education.
Mm-hmm.
Just like not necessarily to like flag the people who are in need of help or anything, but just I think like people who don't have some X disorder, knowing what exactly that is will make people more like tolerant, I guess, of
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. But
And just like, no early warning signs maybe too, or like how to support your peers if you're not experiencing certain things too. Yeah, I agree. That'd be good.
well, it seems we've made it to our final question. Do you know what is coming?
No, I don't remember.
So it's what advice would you give yourself
yes.
18?
Okay,
And,
sorry, wait.
And would you listen to it? Would you
Yes.
take the advice?
Wait, I cut you off. Did you want to repeat it, or is it good?
I can repeat it.
Okay.
What advice would you give yourself at 18, and would you take it, or would you believe the advice?
That is a great question. Well, they've all been great questions, but yeah, so that would be like 7 years ago-ish, before college and everything like that, or just getting into college. So I think I would tell myself you don't know everything that you think you know, and that is okay. You're going to learn a lot. And don't be shy, like, try new things, get out there. I think I try to live that way, but there's many times, especially like in college and stuff, I wish I could have done that even more. So I wish I could tell myself that. And I think if I was chatting with 18-year-old self, I think she would listen, but she would probably be like, okay, it's nothing groundbreaking that I'm sharing there, but yeah, there's a lot to learn. I think it's like a weird period, like when you're like 18 going into college, you think you know everything, and then in college you're like, wow, I know nothing, but you're trying to figure out some sort of specialization to see how you have value in like what job you can do and things next, but it's all, you realize how much you don't know and how big the world is, but it works out and you figure out your place. So that's what I would tell her.
For sure. Well, wrapping up, do you have anything you want to plug?
Not really. Plug Young GRODCAST on Spotify. Get those streams up.
Where can the people find you?
I'm on the internet. I'm up in the Young GRODCAST TikTok comments sometimes. Can find me there probably. I'm around on the internet, but mostly private profiles.
Yeah, it's we're not trying to dox you here.
I don't have much interesting on my profiles. It's more interesting on your profiles.
I try to keep it busy, you know.
Keep it fresh, new content.
Yeah, and different types of content, you know. I like trying all these different formats, so.
Yeah, it's cool. There's so many routes and areas you can go in this day and age. It's cool.
All right. Well, wrapping up, this has been the GRODCAST featuring juleZ. Thanks for being here, and yeah.
Thank you.
And so
all right.
there'll be some
what
outro
are the
music.
GRODCAST listeners called?
Maybe Grodheads. I don't know.
Peace out to the Grodheads. It's been fun.
All right.
Peace and love.